I've been trying to think of a name for this. You walk into a cafe, there's that, table, round bottom, round top, but that cylindrical center, not really my thing. I think we can complicate that a little bit. So it's like a phonograph horn. Nobody knows what that is. It's like a flower, like the butt. Yep, this week we're building a flower butt table. I've taken my 3D models and I've taken all those curved surfaces and I've flattened them and I've printed them to scale so I can cut out some templates to transfer those curves onto a flat surface for the forms. Now that we've got the form made, I can go ahead and unwrap all of these veneers. I've got sapele, African mahogany. He looks like 3 flitches of that. And then white oak all over here. And then this stuff, I'm not gonna use today, but it looks really pretty. It is a Madagascar hissing ebony. I'll be ebonizing this, so I want to avoid as much of the sapwood as possible. This end looks great, so I'm just going to cut a section out of these and we'll use these laminations and we'll get these glued up. Here's what laminations look like after they've been coiled for 6 months. And here's how they relax out. Crazy, huh? We got the first one of these laminations in the bag. This is going to be going on in the background. I've got 8 more to do. So while those cook, let's go ahead and get the top together. Well, that didn't take long. Let's get this open. This is my favorite part, you know that. Why is it my favorite part? Well, if you're a subscriber, you might know this. But if you're new here, I will introduce you to one of my favorite things. You ready? God, I love this. Just so satisfying. Okay, pull doohickey out of here. Are you ready? Are you ready? Wait for it. Wait for it. Oh God, yes. It was at this very moment my mic decided to stop working, so it went something like this. Check out my cool panel. It looks like a star, it looks like a sun. The tape pulls the joints together. I'm sort of a big nerd, and look at it this way, look at it that way. Let's get the tape off. Using the water on the tape erases the grain a little bit, so you get kind of a wavy surface. I've allowed it to dry overnight, but in order to come back to a flat surface, I'm just using a block with some 180 sandpaper. That'll give me a good flat surface, and then we'll move on to a random orbital sander. All right, so we've got all of the segments for the base finished out of the press and laminated. So I've got 8 of these. I took the template here that I just printed off of my CAD software to full-size scale and traced around it. 2 parts make that up. So this is not only gonna be a curve. Along the curve, there's actually, at some point, a straight plane that dissects that. We need to take that straight plane and make a 22.5-degree bevel along that. This is some tricky shit. I've been trying to figure this out all weekend. Instead of trying to explain it, I'm just gonna show you. We're gonna cut these out. I'm gonna make a sled jig for the joiner to bevel that edge so these will all nest together, hopefully. Let's give it a try. All right, I hope this comes across on video. It looks like it does. So I've got this beveled edge on the form, and the idea here is that I wanted to support that bottom edge as it goes across the joiner. I was going to put some sacrificial runners, but what I'm running into here, and I'm not 100% sure what's going on, like it looks fine up here, but as I come down the face of that, there's too much slope. It's not that 22.5 degrees. If this angle's 22.5, and these two are parallel, then yeah, that back edge should be 22.5. Okay, this is, I'm not an engineer, but we are doing some engineering. I'm gonna try to explain this, but I'm not getting that 22.5 degrees, and I don't know. Okay, so, all right, see that gap right there? It's about 10 degrees. Shit. Okay, the sections sit up and flare up and out. So actually, the 22.5 degrees on the form works pretty well here, but then it slowly goes to 16 degrees up here. And I don't know how to make a variable beveled form, and I feel like I'm just wasting way too much time. So I'm gonna freehand this and on the joiner. Don't do this at home, and don't safety police me in the comments. It's gonna be fine. Not your fingers, not your problem. Let's do it. How freaking cool is that? All right, the base has the post. We still need the pedestal. We'll get there. First, I want to get the border around this top. It's really tricky to match inner radius to outer radius. So I've made a template here. I've cut out some sapele, and basically it'll be 4 sections that sit around the edge. So cool, let's do it. Some of you might be sitting at home thinking, wow, that's really cool. But why didn't you just go from the bottom? That would have worked for the outside perimeter. I'm going to need this because I'm going to inlay around the border. I just think there needs to be a little contrast to make this pop. I'm a little bummed because the joint all the way around the perimeter turned out really nicely, but I think it will really just like bring this all together and draw your eye into the radial match. Also, check out this hoodie I designed. I've got it hoodies, t-shirts in this, and I could step down the full depth. I'm just gonna cut the rest off on the bandsaw and flush trim it. Getting close. I'm excited. Let's do it. Also, check out this hoodie I designed. Hoodies, t-shirts in this, and some Sawyer design logos. All Pantone shirts, hoodies, available down in the description if you're interested. I think they turned out awesome. Cool, let's get on with the table build. So I want to add a little bit of contrast into the top, and this will do a couple of things. It'll draw the eye into the radial match, and then doing the same in sapele on the bottom will counterbalance that on the bottom, and then having those 2 tones in both the bottom and the top will really make that more cohesive. Here's the problem. If I do string inlaying to get this radius, that is going to have to be pretty thin, and then I'd have to ebonize a strip in there. No matter what I use to ebonize, it's gonna bleed. I don't want to cover up how nice the seam is, but it needs that visual element. Got all of the parts glued, so I'm ready for fiberglass on the cone, horn, whatever the hell we're calling that. There's still a lot of ways that I can mess this up, and I hope that is not foreshadowing. Take that back to the router table, clean up the tin in there, and get this thing glassed. Let's do it. It's gonna be a good day. Well, it's not pretty, but I think it'll help me sleep at night. On the inside, outside is looking fine except for one of these. Been kind of trying to figure out what I'm going to do at the transition anyway. A little bit of trim here would not be the end of the world, so it would attach to the plate on the top. So fucking, I guess we're doing that. So I got those strips epoxied in place, and I actually kind of like that a lot anyways. It feels nice to have that back edge sort of reinforced. I guess let's try it again, because there's really I cannot come up with like a jig or some good way to trim these. I'll just be more careful this time. Famous last words. Seems like a pretty good day to finish a table. I'm gonna build this milk paint up. One nice thing is that it's kind of powdery, so it'll actually build in there a little bit. Once it's dry and I've got a few layers built up to where it seems like there's a really consistent mat along the bottom of that trench, I'll go ahead and fill that with epoxy. So I dig the tonal contrast between the oak and the sapele, but we're going a little more bold today. You guys have seen me use this before. This is just steel wool, vinegar. The color changing process is not a dye, it's a chemical reaction. It's like 45 minutes later. Crap. So I got the table saw set up to make that back bevel cut. And I was standing over looking at the door, and I kind of like the bulk. I don't know that I really want to take the weight out. I think I'm going to take the same profile on the bottom that I did on the top, just to give that sort of some shape, just to kind of soften that edge. I think I'm looking to soften the edge, not reduce the edge, if that makes sense. It's looking pretty black. I know it looks sort of like gray blue right now. I'm colorblind, that could be gray purple. Could be neither gray nor purple. Once we get a finish coat on that, it'll really blacken up. right, hey, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you aren't already, get subscribed. I really appreciate you watching, as watching this channel grow has just been incredible. You guys are all awesome, and I love that you're here. Don't forget, new t-shirts, sweatshirts, and all my favorite tools are linked down below, and we'll catch you on the next build.